Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to discuss about Visit to the Unknown from Tensei Shitara Slime Talk, and so without any ado let's begin. Visit to the Unknown, 11 Appearance of Super Beast Part 2. You two have got it all wrong. I have told you many times, I am stronger than Beretta. It seems that this thing is the only one that can enter the barrier, so you do not need to worry about everyone's safety. Well, just consider that it is impossible for those who believe in me to be hurt while I am watching, he said with a boisterous laugh. The great serpent in front of Feldera was certainly strong. If you just looked at the physical strength, it was up there with the pseudo-demon lord class. However, that was it. Even the fact that it was getting through Feldera's barrier was nothing noteworthy. After all, while it was called a barrier, all it was a space where pollution was removed. It was not something like the multi-dimensional barrier that Feldera had used when seriously trying to protect them. The truth was, there were reasons that up until now, Feldera had concentrated on defense while leaving the fighting to Beretta. One was so he could decipher the laws of this world. The other was so that by concentrating only on defense, he would be able to deal with anything that might happen. It looked like he wasn't thinking about anything, but he actually had considered what was important. As long as there was no magic essence in this world, the accuracy of universal perception would drop. And that was why Feldera used the power of the storm to use the atmosphere itself as a monitoring eye. And now, after a few days, through the use of all of creation and seeker of truth, he was able to grasp the laws of this world entirely. In other words, he completely grasped the nature of this planet. And because of this, Feldera was currently able to use his full power. He was able to use the majority of the power he had in the other world without relying on magic essence. So it was now easy for him to protect everyone without having to focus entirely on it. Guraiaic dash. The large serpent charged forward in an attack. Feldera saw this and smirked. Yes. I have no intention of toying with those who are afraid. But if you wish to challenge me, I will oblige. And with that, he lightly brought up his right fist and thrust it out. Dragon Punch. Perhaps he wanted to use it since he had just learned it. Vibration Fist Wave. That really is a terrible name. He should take notes from my 47 special moves. Oh, you mean like Drop Kick or Fairy Chop? Yours seem just as bad. What did you say, Beretta? Nothing. Ramirez and Beretta whispered to each other. However, Feldera was in such a good mood about being able to finally take action, that he didn't care what they said. He ignored them and attacked the Great Serpent. Feldera had slipped right in front of the Great Serpent and his right fist had shot towards the purple scales that were strong enough to go against a tank. Contact. The moment it happened, shockwaves spread through the Great Serpent's body. Gah! It let out a painful scream. Scales flew from all over its body and the skin on its red head became visible. During the previous fight, Feldera had completely mastered the art of converting his energy into vibration waves. Kahahaha. What do you think? Is it not very impressive? He looked down at the Great Serpent that had been thrown to the ground. Feldera laughed confidently. Everyone watched in awe. What the? Hey. Is this real? You can't be serious. No, it's impossible. Can it be? His power must be the same as General Michel. It's unbelievable. How did he do that with his bare hands? It is well known that you must use heavy weapons to completely burn super beasts. And yet he used his fist. This is beyond ridiculous. Shock. That was all. They all watched this scene that seemed too far from reality that they could not believe it was actually happening. Most of them started to wonder if they were in fact dreaming. However, children were less cynical. Amazing. I knew Mr. Feldera was the best. So cool. He really is so cool. They were incredibly excited. And so was Feldera. Kahahaha. Finally, I have entered the spotlight. He was thrilled. Oh, dear. Master's getting carried away now. I don't see why it's a problem. It's better than when he gets sulky. We should think positively. That's true. Still, Master seems to have come to understand the laws of this world. Yes. I'd expect nothing less of Lord Feldera. The spirit power is now becoming more active. Ramirez chuckled but was somewhat proud at the same time. He was a dragon after all. And he wasn't called the strongest for nothing. As Beretta said, the spirits had not been very active here in this world before, but that had changed thanks to Feldera. This was because Feldera commanded the storms and he had activated that power. All sunlight had been blocked from the surface for so long, and now, while it was only a small area, it was shining down on them. The effect was most dramatic. The spirits that had been asleep had begun to awaken. This obviously meant that Ramiris was also able to use a wider variety of magic. And Beretta's power would increase. The 20 or so super beasts were not even close to being a threat. I commend your bravery in challenging me. And now you can help me practice some new moves. Feldera said as he fell on the great serpent that was on the ground. The great serpent was roaring. It was an order. Even the other super beasts that were afraid of Feldera's barrier were unable to ignore it. And so the 20 super beasts all started to move at once. However, Feldera remained calm. There was no need to panic. By completely understanding the atmosphere, his universal perception view was now whole. And so he was able to defeat multiple super beasts with one hit. Kahahaha. It doesn't matter how many of you there are. You should stop this meaningless resistance. He laughed loudly as he defeated every single one. It all happened in just 1 minute. It was overwhelming. Hey, are we all dreaming? Ha ha ha. I have been very tired recently. I was also wondering if I was dreaming. We must be. After all, this is not possible. It was possible to kill the monsters with enough firepower. However, Feldera was keeping them alive while stopping their movement. Super beasts. Their ability to regenerate made them close to invincible. They were humanity's strongest enemy. Fists, kicks and headbutts. He wasn't killing the super beasts, but making them unable to move. It was outrageous. That's what all the adults present were thinking. Now, you are the last one left. Will you still not give up? Feldera was looking at the great serpent with the red head. Perhaps the snake could understand Feldera, because it hissed with rage. The fact that your spirit hasn't been broken is quite impressive given how weak you are. However, there is nothing you can do now. So, why is it that you hate humans so much? The adults were most confused when Feldera began to talk to the great serpent. Especially Zaza and Carmen. As soldiers, they wanted him to hurry up and deal the final blow. But Feldera took no notice of their questioning stares. He stood as if waiting for the great serpent to reply. Grayayay. A roar. It was still very hostile, and its jaw opened wide in an attempt to eat Feldera. Humph. Feldera's heel rose high into the air and slammed into its forehead. The forehead tore open and purple blood flowed. The snake flailed around as if it had gone mad. And then, something started to emerge from the tear in the forehead. It was in the shape of a human. A young woman with long, red hair. I see. So the base really was human. It looks like it. I suspected it because it would require a high level of intelligence to control the other super beasts. The fact that it was not afraid of Lord Feldera shows that its instincts were weak. No, perhaps the hatred and anger were just too strong. In any case, fighting battles you have no hope of winning is more than enough proof that something is human. Human. Super beasts were created based not off of dogs, cats, or other animals, but intelligent creatures. Humans. Zaza and the others were speechless. But these are super beasts? Humanity's enemy. But you say they used to be human. Sharma muttered this as if she could not believe it. No one else could say anything. I suppose it cannot talk. Thought transmission could be used with magic essence, but I do not like deciphering the actual thought waves. Lord Feldera, that is something I am good at. I can tell that this woman has endless hatred towards humans. It seems that she was betrayed and abandoned by a lover and along with many others, became the subjects of experiments. Oh. What kind of experiments? Mutations, special, toxin decomposition. Her mind is not right, so it is difficult to read much of her memories. He could recognize her will and emotions, but even Beretta had trouble deciphering precise information. Especially since he was a visitor from another world with a different language. But even before all of that, it was likely that the super beast herself did not even understand what kinds of experiments had been performed. However, the conclusion I have come to is that these super beasts were created by humans as creatures made to perfectly fit their environment. Beretta reasoned based off the information he was able to get. Upon hearing this, the adults, especially Zaza and Carmen, who had memories of the far past, instantly turned pale. It can't be man-made. If that is true, wouldn't it be most likely that it was our homeland? Even Carmen's men were muttering to each other in shock. It was no wonder. They had all thought of the super beasts as enemies up until now. However, the possibility had now surfaced that they were once people from their old home. And Carmen? From our homeland? Lover, betrayal? No, it couldn't. He was stunned. He could not look away from the thing that thrashed in pain in front of him. So, Master. What are you going to do with these super beasts? Look, Ramaris. These things had been inside of the purification barrier for a while now. Their skin keeps coming off and regenerating over and over again. Unfortunately, there are no signs of them returning to what they once were. Decompositioning the polluted substances takes away its power, but the once mutated cells will not return to normal. So, in other words, it will be difficult to return them to normal. In that case, it would be best to put it out of its misery. Carmen began to move just as Feldera said those words. Wait. Could you not just let them go? I can't think of them as enemies once you brought up the possibility that they could be from home. At least give us some time to think. Carmen said as he raised both hands and stood in front of the super beast. Feldera nodded. I don't mind. But something moved as if to interrupt Feldera's words. It was the super beast. The human shape that grew from the red forehead had tried to bite Carmen as his back was towards it. However, it was not successful. Feldera moved his arm and blocked the fangs. You do know that these things are no longer human. Carmen looked at the super beast as if he were frozen. What Feldera said was true, it was not human. Carmen could understand that himself. The long red hair was filthy and clung to her skin. While she still looked like a young woman, the skin was covered in purple scales and it seemed more monster than human when you looked closely. But what was the most grotesque, was everything under the torso. Her body was united with the snake's forehead. It was a twisted sight. You could hardly believe she had been human. And yet, I found out much later, but the research that was conducted in the city that was our home, it had to do with the creation of special pluripotent cells. It would degrade toxins and pollutants. This research would give birth to people who could live in all kinds of environmental conditions. This fits with Mr. Beretta's theory. And so it makes me think, maybe Brigadier Karif and Charles were alive and, Carmen watched as the super beast bit Feldera's arm and moved wildly. There were no tears. Carmen's modified body had no such function. Still, a sense of forlornness he hadn't felt in decades suddenly filled his chest. He felt it deeply. We are asking you as well. I can't help but wonder if one of my friends are in there. Hell, this one could have been my younger sister. Yes, please let them go. I'm begging you. Carmen's men all started to plead at once. Feldera looked at them calmly and muttered that they were being foolish. When a prisoner of such emotions as hatred and anger, you become unable to consider others and repeatedly act hideously. And that's what they were now. Were they still important because they were from home? For those that were important, some would do anything without question. Those with weak hearts and who were too foolish to see the whole picture were easily used and tricked. This was the nature of humanity, and it was the same in this world as any other. However, that was precious in its own way. That was what Feldera thought. Kahahaha. Very well. You weak, little fools. I shall listen to your wishes. And then a wind started to blow around Feldera. It blew gently between the people and then surrounded the super beasts. And I will let you go this time. But don't think I will have mercy if you bother us again, all right. He showed his will as an absolute being. And with that, Feldera cast the super beasts outside of his barrier. Thank you for watching. Like, share and subscribe for more content.